to our broadcast today. My name is Cindy Speaker, and I have with us today Attorney David Daggett of Daggett, Shuler Attorneys at Law. And David, before I start talking to you, let me tell you this. David is an avid cyclist, and we're going to talk about bicycling today. He's also a licensed bicycle racer and a very accomplished Ironman triathlete. So David, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Cindy. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Well, listen, we're going to talk about bicycling today, and I know that you have some new laws in North Carolina. They've been around for a little while, but a lot of people are just not aware of them yet. So let's talk a little bit about that, and where I'd like to start is, let's talk about some of the safety things that families need to be aware of, those families that go out and do cycling with their children.
Sure. And this is a good time to review bicycle safety. The weather's getting warm outside. Later this month, we have big bicycle races here in Winston-Salem, so there's going to be a lot of focus and attention on bicycling, and it's a great recreational and fitness healthy activity for individuals and families. And safety, it always starts with knowing how your bicycle works, learning the mechanics. They're usually pretty simple, but learning the brakes and the gears and make sure the brakes are operational. Always wear a helmet. In North Carolina, 16 and under, it's mandatory to wear a bicycle helmet. If you're over that age, it's not mandatory. But as the sign in the bicycle shop says, a helmet is cheaper than a neurosurgical exam.
Boy, that's for sure.
Yeah. So number one thing in safety is wear a bicycle helmet. Make sure it gets fitted properly. All of our bicycle shops in town are very, very good, and they'll help you fit it and make sure the straps are right and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so that's the main thing for families, being visible. You ride on the right-hand side of the road. The law says you can ride two abreast. I like single file.
Yeah.
It's more polite for motorists, and it allows cars to pass easily. When I'm speaking with bicycle groups, sometimes they want to argue with me that the law says you're allowed to ride two abreast. But if you get a pack of riders riding two abreast, it makes it very difficult for motorists.
Yeah.
And the last thing that we want to do as bicyclists is to tick off motorists. We want to befriend them and be good ambassadors to them. And I can assure you, my wife, she's as big a fan of bicyclists as there is, and she gets upset when there's big packs on the road that are hindering the motor vehicles coming by. So please be wise and be a good ambassador in that regard.
Well, David, let's talk a little bit about this 4-foot rule, because I think that's a change for North Carolina.
Yeah, it's a huge change.
Okay.
So the North Carolina historically has had what's called the 2-foot rule, which means a motor vehicle, when passing, has to be at least 2 feet to the side of the bicyclist going by.
Okay.
At speeds of 35 miles an hour or more, that feels pretty close when you're on a bicycle. Now, most states have what's called a 3-foot rule, so you have to give 3 feet when passing. A few states, including Pennsylvania, have a 4-foot rule. North Carolina has gone from the 2-foot rule to the 4-foot rule anytime it's a no passing zone. Now, a very large percentage of bicycle riding is done in urban areas and on 2-lane country roads, which are typically large percentage no passing zones. So this is a great safety provision for cyclists that cars now have to be 4 feet or completely in the other lane of travel when passing. The one thing I like to remind cyclists, though, is remember, people don't sit around and read the North Carolina statutes and don't keep up with law changes. And I would bet that most motorists don't know that we don't have a 4-foot rule. So that's one reason we published that little book that we have to explain those laws. But also, cyclists need to be ambassadors and inform their friends and family members of the 4-foot rule and let that spread through the community so there's a larger degree of awareness.
Yeah.
I personally think that's the biggest change that we have in the new laws. We've got the 2-foot rule now gone to 4 feet. That's important for safety. We used to have reflectors on the back of our bikes from dusk till dawn that would reflect from 250 feet back. Now you have to have lights that are visible from 300 feet or further, or have a reflective vest on that you can see from 300 feet or further. Now, a lot of cyclists, it's become very popular to have lights on the back of your bike. And in fact, I have lights both on the back and the front of my bike that I use in daytime or in the dawn to dusk period, or dusk to dawn period. And the nice thing is the lights now are very affordable. They're USB port chargeable, so they're very easy to recharge and very easy to use. So that's an obligation. So there's responsibilities that have been put on cyclists also. I think they're good responsibilities,
Yeah.
and that's with regard to lighting and visibility. Bicyclists always have to pretend that motor vehicles can't see you. You have to do everything you can to be visible. Going through a couple of other changes in the law, using hand signals. Experienced cyclists for years you can do right turn like this, or right turn by pointing your right arm out. The law has now been codified that hand signals can be done with either arm. So you can do left turn, or you can do right turn this way, but you can use either hand. The thing that I always say is you have to be conscious of the motorists around you and what you want to do, and this goes back to always being a good ambassador, is use whatever is most visible to the motorists around you to help them, showing them that you're going to turn one direction or the other. The slow down, putting your arm down, the slow down sign is also very helpful. And motorists appreciate it when cyclists give those hand signals and indications, because it helps them and it helps you be more safe.
Yeah.
Some other things that changes in the law. It was interesting. Historically, motorcyclists were given a little bit more protection than bicyclists. For example, motorcyclists, if they get crowded off the road, but it's no contact, that's still a pretty hefty fine against the motorist. If there's any property damage or injury, the fines go up. Those laws have now been extended to bicyclists. So if a vehicle crowds you off the road, and it ends up with either property damage or bodily injury, then the fines go up. So bicyclists are afforded those legal protections. Same goes with getting into a turn lane. Motorists have to respect your right to get into the turn lane to turn, and those sort of things. So I think there's some very, very important changes. Cyclists need to be aware of them first, and then they have to be good ambassadors to the rest of the community and help spread the word on what these new laws and changes are.
Right. And like you said, I mean, we really need motorists to understand these laws.
Yeah, and that takes a long time. It's a long effort, and it's interesting to me. I always try to be a good Samaritan. I'd say I probably am 99% of the time. I was out in the country not long ago and had the flashing light on the back, and I had a great big loud pickup truck come up next to me and roll down his window, and I'm thinking, oh no, what does this guy want? And he leans over and says, "Hey, thanks for having that flashing light. I could see you from a long ways away."
Wow.
Pretty nice.
That's great.
The one thing that we don't have a whole lot of in our area are designated bicycle lane. We are starting to get some more. One of the problems, and this is another one that's kind of funny, is I was biking last weekend, and I was kind of on the line of the bicycle lane, but also just slightly into the road, and an old couple came by, and the guy shook his fist, and we get to the stoplight, and I go up next to him, and I say, "Good morning, sir." And he said, "Well, you should have been all the way into the bicycle lane." And I said, "Well, you're right, but you know what happened is the street sweeper came through and pushed all the debris from the roadway into the bicycle lane, actually making the bicycle lane hazardous." And he kind of laughed and said, "Well, thank you for telling me that, and be safe." So if we all, every ride make one friend, all of a sudden we've spread some good karma throughout the motorist community, and I believe that helps keep all bicyclists just a little bit safer.
Yeah, that's great. David, I want you to tell us a little bit about the book that you wrote. We have an ebook that we're going to make available. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So we wrote a very short ebook with the updated safety laws in North Carolina. We intentionally made it very, very short, so it's very, very easy to read, either for cyclists or for motorists. We also made it free. It's a free download, free to share, free to use. And what the purpose of that is to be a very concise informational piece on the new safety laws for bicyclists in North Carolina. The good news is that book has been shared a lot of times,
Yeah.
and we're glad that we're an instrumental part in getting that word out.
Yeah. So what we're going to ask those of you watching today, whether live or on replay, if you have people that you know that are cyclists, please share the book. We're going to put a link right on this page. You just click on it. You can download it free. We want to get the word out, as David said, not just to the cyclists, but really to drivers, because
Sure.
as a driver, I was not aware even about, I'm in Pennsylvania, you're in North Carolina, but I wasn't even aware of the 4-foot rule in Pennsylvania. So
Yes.
That's good for all drivers to know
No,
those
it's
types
very
of
good.
things.
And most drivers, they want to be safe,
Absolutely.
but they want us to follow the rules.
Yeah.
And if we follow the rules, they want to follow the rules too. So it's a back and forth. People tend to want to take sides on those issues. There's not sides to take. The side to take is safety for all of us.
Yeah.
Good ambassadors, all of us,
Right.
and that makes the road safer for cyclists and motorcyclists.
Absolutely. Well, David, how can someone reach your office? We're talking about a really wonderful topic here today, but sometimes people end up in bicycle accidents. You're a person they can call. You handle a lot of those cases. How can they reach your office?
Sure, just for free information, and sometimes cyclists just call me to talk, and that's fine too. 336-724-1234, or we have lots of information on our website at daggettshulerlaw.com.
Okay. David, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you, Cindy, and thank you for spreading the good word on bicycle safety.
You bet. Okay. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Again, we really appreciate it if you would help share this information, get the word out with us. Thanks, everybody.
And if you have any questions, post them and we'll answer them.
Absolutely. David will answer them himself. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.